Our goal is to build a world that has never existed before. We build our world by brainstorming new ideas. Then we play with the ideas. We play with the ideas and we use them for stories. And it is the stories that are the building blocks for our world of Opsopudook. Hopefully we make a world that no one has ever been to before, a world that no one has ever thought of before. Today, for the first time, we are including the idea of world building for TTRPGs, that is tabletop role-playing games, and they are also about writing stories that nobody's ever heard of before.
Hello and welcome. We are Wild Art Fly Free and each week we build story bits. And, then, after we collect a few story bits, we put them together to form rough story ideas. And, ultimately, what we want to build is a fantasy world. That is, Opsopudook. Our fantasy world that is made out of stories. We have been doing this for a while and we have some plots and quite a few characters. Of course, we have some places where the stories can happen in. We call the places settings, but you probably know that, but it doesn't hurt to make sure. I hope. Anyway, we have been thinking that we should think up some bigger story ideas. We could use some general political or social ideas that will help tie our stories together. Am I making any sense? I think that, maybe what we want are some bigger stories that affect the smaller stories. Or, something like that.
So then, what we have so far, we are building a world out of stories, and we're building the stories out of the ideas, the wild and crazy ideas that you come up with and that we come up with. We try to, make sense of them and turn them into stories that we then put the stories together to build our world. Our world is called Opsopudook, and it is 5 continents, 7 moons. So we have been up to now mostly thinking about the continent of Aldla. We have a whole bunch of characters and a whole bunch of basic stories, plots, intrigue, all kinds of weird stuff that is making up the continent of Aldla. But now we are spreading out some more and we are going north to the northern continent of Arrapangea, and we don't know too much about Arrapangea other than there's dinosaurs. So that's what we've got so far. So now we are going into a new continent to explore, and we don't know very much about it. But there are quite probably some things that we know from Alda that are international and intercontinental. So a few of the things, we have some groups of people that we can mention. The Bayajai, which represents the brain in a jar people. These are insect people that serve a mad scientist who carries on as a brain in a jar. The insect people take care of him, and they do use magic, so magic is important to them, as opposed to the Chipia. And the Chipia are a life force, a different life form that is based on computer chips and robotics and AI. So the Chipia are a life force. They do believe that they live, and they are trying to go forth and multiply. They evolved from a crash of a spaceship. They're a spaceship from a different planet, but these guys did not come from that planet. They evolved out of the wreckage of the ship from the molten metal and computer chips that were laying around. Lots of intelligent microcomputer stuff, and they started with one character who built a framework, a metal framework with a silicon-based brain, and this one person, this one Chipia person, built another because it seemed like the thing to do from what he knew from the history of whoever had built the ship and built the computers that were part of it that are now part of the Chipia. Anyway, they figured out that they should go forth and multiply, so they are now going around looking for metal and computer chips, so silicon and the technology to create the silicon. They have the intellectual abilities, but they may lack the others. So anyway, that is all happening on Aldla, the Chipia, and the Biogi, two artificial life forms. Okay. Also in Aldla, we have the Halican and the Haujaring, and they are cults. They are cults that mostly are built from, well, the people of Alda, the Humics, and the Humics are a mix of elves, humans, gnomes, dwarfs, and halflings. That's what make up most of the cults, anyway. So we have two cults, the Halican and the Haujaring, and both of these cults are made represent collections, diverse collections of people. The Haujaring is less likely, I believe, to have goblins. The Halican have more goblins, although maybe I've got that backwards. Okay. But anyway, they're cults, and they tend to go around, their leaders come up with prophecies, and their adventurers go around trying to make sure that their prophecies come true and the other cults do not. And we've had some adventures with that already, roughed out. Okay. Another group of people that we've seen in Aldla. We don't know if they will see very much of them in Arrapangea, the northernmost continent, because these are people built around dragons, and in Arrapangea we have dinosaurs, and the dinosaurs don't necessarily get along with the dragons, but we might have some representatives. So it is the Vitgliv, who are the Humics people. The Humics are elves, humans, gnomes, dwarfs, and halflings. That's the Humics. And they serve the dragons. The Vitgliv Humics serve the dragons, and those dragons are called the Vilglia. And one interesting part of the Vilglia is that they like Humics children, and they raise them while they're still very cute and adorable. They keep them as entertainment. And they are called, these child entertainers grow up to become the Tweedrill, The dragons do like them and want to care for them, but that all has to be a secret. So the Vitgliv Humics keep the Tweedrill a secret. It's one of their biggest jobs, and serve the Vilglia, the dragons.
So, this is awesome. And I guess we are ready to start. So, Al, why don't you start? You can, introduce your character, well, as much as you have prepared. And then it will be Bunny's turn. Okay.
Thank you, Turtle. And thank you for doing the GM job. I could have done it, but I sort of wanted to play for a bit. Anywho, I did the random thing to choose my character. So the dice thought that I should be a gnome. And that's good, isn't it? Anywho, a few more rolls and it turns out that I am playing a male, young adult gnome. And so then I used a random name generator from the internet and I found the name, Dark Branch.
Oh, my. That's a great name for a gnome, Owl. You are the young man gnome named Dark Branch. Awesome.
Thank you, Bunny. So who are you?
Well, as I said to Turtle earlier, I want to be an elf. And, well, I decided on a young man elf. But, I'm not as brave as you, Owl, so I didn't roll dice to choose this stuff. But, it's good that we are both young men. Isn't it? And, I also chose a name from using a random name generator. And, I am playing April Line.
Welcome, April Line. It will be very good to have a magical person on the trip. Oh, you didn't mention, but I assume that you are a magic kind of elf.
Oh yes. I, April Line, am an up-and-coming wizard. So, how about you? Dark Branch? Are you magic too? That could be fun.
It would be fun, wouldn't it? But no. I think that I will go for more of the rogue. I grew up in the rough part of the city and had to learn to be tough and resourceful.
Oh, that's cool. I haven't built any backstory yet. I hope that's okay. But how much do we need before we really get started? Turtle? Do we need to sort everything out by our next meeting?
Oh, no. It's like we talked about. This is so experimental that we are for sure better off not falling in love with too many ideas too soon. I mean, if you want to build a backstory, that's cool. We are nothing if not flexible. Isn't that right, Owl?
So true.
Okay. Then. That's good for today. We have so much to think about and we want to test some new ideas, including game mechanic stuff. Okay.
Okay.
Awesome.
We are going to explore Arrapangea, and hopefully we can stay ahead of our heroes in our game. at least a little bit ahead. So we're going to get started with that. Arrapangea, all we have so far is the continent, which was kind of randomly drawn some time ago. And now we want to zoom in a bit. We want to give the parts of Arrapangea some names, especially names can be very handy, and can also trigger some ideas just from the very type of name. So let's go to a random word generator or random name generator and pick out 6 names. We like the number 6. D6, nice and simple. Okay, so, and our random name generator has given us 6 names we can play with. Snowbush, Baleator, Ballater. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but that's always fun too. Red Hawk, Silt Hallow, or Silt Hallow, Wastemuck, and Chain Forge. So now we want to take and put these names somewhere on our continent of Arrapangea. So we're just going to drop them in place where it seems to make a little bit of sense, and then fill in, for example, Red Hawk could be Red Hawk Glaciers. We've got a few glaciers going on. Got a few mountain ranges, maybe under the glaciers. Got an inland sea. So let's move these names around. Red Hawk, Ballater, Wastemuck, Chain Forge, Silt Hollow, and Showbush. And so let's make that Red Hawk Glaciers, Ballater Glaciers, and Wastemuck Glaciers. Down here we could have Chain Forge Islands. And there's Silt Hollow Strait, or Silt Hollow Strait. The idea is silt maybe should be related to water, so that doesn't make a very good glacier, but could have been a glacier. Doesn't hurt to have silly names and strange names. The world is full of them. And then lastly we have Showbush Sea. Showbush Sea, okay. And that sea is the inland sea that's going to have the warm water that will make our Arrapangea continent at the North Pole habitable. Probably be a little bit steamy and smoky, and well, that'll add to some mystery for those of people that like mystery. Okay, now what we want to do is zoom in on one of our new areas, so that maybe this will be the first place that our heroes can come to while we're thinking about adventures, building adventures. So which of these, Red Hawk, Ballater, Wastemuck, Chainforge, Silt Hollow, or Showbush? And we'll roll a d6. Convenient that we have 6 names to choose from. And we get a 3. So the third name down is Wastemuck. And that's the Wastemuck Glaciers. Cool. So we're going to focus in on the Wastemuck Glaciers and play around with that. And we'll add some more chaos. But just for fun, we'll start with 10 random words. Just any words that the random word generator can give us to, just to trigger some ideas about what this place might be about. The Wastemuck Glacier has something to do with the words clean, science, need, sun, red, inspect, admit, sterilize, copy, and dead. Okay, well there's science in there. Inspect, sterilize, clean, copy. A lot of those are technical, like sciencey words. So maybe there's something to do with research. Maybe somebody's gone there to do some research. And then there, of course, is the word dead. So it sounds like we're headed for a murder mystery with maybe a mad scientist, somebody's son. Or can you come up with something totally different with those words? Clean, science, need, sun, red, inspect, admit, sterilize, copy, and dead. Okay, well, let's let that sink in for a bit and move on. So can you guess what we might do next as we zoom in on our Wastemuck Glacier area? And zoom in, and let's add 6 more random place names for the Wastemuck Glacier area. So we get 2-foot, Knotwise, Smallburrow, Zilbis, Stargazer, and Wild Pebbles. So some of these sound like halfling names or gnome names, places. So let's just take and spread those names around on our Wastemuck Glacier area. And maybe we could have 2-foot forest and Knotwise Sea, the Smallburrow Strait, Zilbis Mountain, Stargazer Point, and Wild Pebbles Beach. So that looks like fun, and maybe going forward, seems like a natural place. If somebody was coming from the continent of Aldla, they might land at Wild Pebbles Beach. They would be, of course, heading for that inland sea, the Showbush Sea. But there must be reasons that people are not going there, and maybe it's guarded. So maybe we just, land at Wild Pebbles Beach and see if we can learn some stuff from the locals and see whether it's safe to go forward. And maybe make some friends. That's always a good idea. Stock up on any supplies if they have them there. That sort of thing. Or maybe we will crash at Wild Pebbles Beach and get stuck and have to walk forward. So what do you think? What kind of adventure can we start building here? And in future videos, maybe we will start thinking about how to build adventures. And so look forward to that. Find links in the videos, links in the video description below. And, well, tell us what you think as well.
I'm going to play an elf. We don't have enough elves in our world.
Well, Bunny, that sounds like an excellent idea. Then, do you want to be a male elf or a female, and what age? I'm guessing you know what sort of skills your elf will be good at?
Oh, well. When I think of elves, I always think of magic, and I think that we can stay with at least some ideas that are familiar. I know that we plan to go places and do things that no bunny has ever been to or done before. So, that's good, right?
It's whatever you want, of course, but I do like the idea of an elf. As you say, we don't have any important elf characters. And, yes, while the idea of elves doing magic is common enough, well, we haven't played with magic all that much either. But, don't worry. We really need to sort out what our magic is about anyway. So, yes. We should have at least one magic person with us. So, are you going to be a wizard? Anyway, you can sort out your gender and age the rest and be ready for our first session. Sounds good.
Awesome.